Hi, this is Dr. Gail, and if you're choosing an assignment that requires the use of graphic images, then you absolutely must watch this video explanation on how to use graphic images. Graphic images are not free for the taking off of the websites. In fact, you need to create the use of using graphic images exactly the same way you would treat the use of text off of the internet. So if you're not citing your graphic images, or you do not have permission to use those graphic images, you are maybe violating copyright laws, certainly plagiarizing. So you absolutely must be aware of how to use graphic images. Now, this is true for any kind of multimedia, images, words, video, audio. Words you're mostly used to because you write papers. But anything that you did not create, you have to cite it in some fashion. You got it from someplace else. For the purpose of this particular video, we're only going to pay attention to images. So whether you are using multimedia, you're using images, whatever it is you're using, you must always cite. You have to look at the website's user information. If it's royalty free, that means that you have bought it. You've bought it. You own the image. You still have to cite it. And if it's public domain, it's just sort of out there. Anyone can use it. Or Creative Commons. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Creative Commons and public domain. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to make it easy for you to find these images that you can use so that you don't have to wonder whether or not you can use them or not. So what you want to do is you want to go to your browser, and I'm going to use Google. And you want to make it easy for yourself. So let's say I want to look up dogs. And I want to use, I want to look up images specifically. And you're going to go to Search Tools. And you want to go to User Rights. Now you have a choice here. You choose what you want. If you are creating a training program or something like that for an organization where no one has to pay for anything and it's just private within the organization, or you're creating a graphic image, you're using a graphic image for an assignment, it would be non-commercial use. Or if you want to modify it, then you'd have to use it with modification, or you just reuse it. If you're using it for something where someone has to pay to get into it, you're not going to use non-commercial. You're going to use it, it's going to be more commercial. So for the purpose of assignments, you can use either. Let's say we're going to use this. So now all these images are available for reuse. But you have to go one step further, and you have to now be able to cite it in text. But I'm going to explain to you that a little bit later. This is how you can locate your overall images. So once you have found your images, you're going to have to state where you retrieve the image. So if you're creating an online course, or you're creating an infographic, however way you use that graphic image, you have to state where it came from. So for example, let's say I put this image inside a paper. So I would somewhere say image retrieved from Wikimedia Commons. And I'm going to show you how I know to do this. So coming back to that search that we had before, I've decided I want to use this. So if I hover over here, I see it's from here. But just to make sure, I'm going to click on here. I'm going to click on here. And this is where I got it from, Wikimedia Commons. So coming back to my example, that's what I'm going to put here. And I'm going to put, I don't know when the date was, so I'm going to just put no date. So that's how you would do your images within the body of whatever it is that you're using. Now sometimes you happen to be going through the internet and you happen to find something off of a web page that you think you really like. So you can't just take it off of the internet. So what you do is you have to scroll down to the bottom of the page to determine whether or not, what are the rights for you as a viewer in using anything off of that web page. So this particular web page is about dogs. You can see I do like dogs. And I say, you know, these are really neat pictures. I think I want to make a collage that's going to demonstrate categorization for my assignment for the University of Phoenix and whatever course it is, or whatever you're doing. Let's say you want to do that for your organization. So you have to come all the way down to the end of the page, and let me just sort of size this a bit so you can see everything. And it's in this area. Now, there's nothing, this is just terms of use, terms of service. Sometimes you'll see terms of use, and that's what you want to click on. Or you'll see something that's is a hint that it might be information about how to use any of the materials. Well, you don't see anything obvious here, but what you do see is this. Copyright. All trademarks and other intellectual property on this site are owned by La Société des Produits Nestlé. So they're from Switzerland. And it says, or used with permission. So you have to contact them and get permission to use. And if they find out that you're using it, you're going to be in deep trouble. You can't say claim ignorance of the law, because they don't really care, especially if you're an adult. So you want to make sure you're getting that. And when you get that permission to use, then you can say on that example that I showed you where I used Wikimedia Commons, you say graphic image used by permission by, and you put down the company. So when you get that permission to use, all you do is you send them an email and you state what you're doing. You have to state whether or not you are a profit or a nonprofit or whatever it might be, that you know how you're going to use the graphic image. You're going to be using it for an assignment, and that's all you're going to be using it for, and make a statement about that. And then you will get an email back. People are very quick to respond. In fact, they're impressed that you've even asked. And you save that email and you copy and paste it into the appendix of your assignment. And that way you demonstrate that you have permission to use, and you want to make sure you keep that email. I have a folder filled with permission to use. So that's what you do in the assignment. And then what you do is you have to include all that information into a reference page. And this is how you do that. If there is an author, you do the author's last name and the first initial dot. Or if there is no author, then you use the organization. You use the organization name, and it's an uppercased N. And then you put the date, and then you put the name of the image. There's no punctuation here, and you do this, and then you retrieve from and the website. So that concludes the information on graphic images. If you have any questions about this, just please let